Hey, what's up guys? Sam here, and I'll be doing the free video for Friday, January 10th, 2025. So just finished making the premium video for the folks in the central room, and we did what we do every video. If you wanted to see what we do kind of in more in-depth, I would certainly suggest checking out the last week's video. It actually is going to have the same title as this video, it's just 1 and 2. But last week I actually uploaded the premium video here as a free video to YouTube, just because I thought it was important to get some level of that information out there to you guys. And really I'm going to kind of keep throwing back to that video from last week, so if you haven't checked it out, just go back and maybe click on our channel, and it should be just a week ago. The video is going to be titled As Good As It Gets, and I cover everything in a lot more detail in that video, so I don't necessarily feel the need to get into a ton of detail in this video, as much as just wanting to show you what has changed week to week. So again, just a quick shout out to last week's video called As Good As It Gets. I would check that one out if you missed it, because I also show you a pretty big signal that's setting up, the biggest signal I would say that's setting up for this year, much bigger than just individual stocks. So covered that last week, and I would go check it out if you haven't. But for this week, let me just kind of cover. I want to keep things simple here because really not much has changed. Things have only progressed from where we were last week to this week, and I just want to show you two progressions that have happened since we last spoke on Friday. So let's start here with SPY, and the big progression that I'm seeing is a difference in the signal. So let's kind of take a signal that's already happened and then compare it to a signal that is in the middle of happening. So over here, you see when you guys started getting arrows over here on the SPY, this indicator gave you arrows, and then those arrows aligned with all of these arrows from this indicator. And then from there, which is roughly right about here, basically goes straight up, almost straight up. So this gives us a good template as to what signal we're looking for. We're looking for this kind of combination of signals when you get arrows on both indicators at the same time, right? That's kind of like a really solid buy signal. Well, if that's a really solid buy signal, then what do we call this? Because it's the exact opposite signal, right? Now, you did have some pullbacks. You had a pullback here, and you had a pullback here. But those pullbacks did not result in a negative crossover on the indicator, and now this one has. So now you have the exact opposite signal that launched you to the sky. That was a good bullish signal, and this one is, I won't call it a good bearish signal quite just yet, but it is that until proven otherwise. So that is one thing that has changed. That signal was not there last week, even though I told you guys, that the signals were very cautionary. That signal was not there in full last week, and it is now there. Second thing here, but it's part of the first, is that the daily chart on SPY, at least based on my indicator, is actually registering a bearish rating at this point, right? So that is a change from last week. Last week it was just neutral, and now it's shifted all the way to bearish. You combine this shift of the bearish signal on the daily with this combination of signals that we've just talked about, and it makes it for a pretty dangerous situation. So one thing that's progressed, two things really, but both part of the same thing. And then the second thing that's progressed here, and I'm going to go to the VIX for this one, is a little bit of a signal here on Mr. VIX. So Mr. VIX, what are you doing? So let's ignore everything on the VIX chart. I know it seems very busy, but I just want to draw your attention in one place, right here. The last time you had up signals here on the VIX was last July. And then, of course, from that signal, you got this gigantic candle to the upside, which, of course, scared the markets quite a bit, right? And then once the markets calmed back down, you got the sell signal there in August, and that kept you in a sell pretty much from here all the way through. Even through here, during this spike, it did not register a thrust up signal, or I don't want to say it's a buy signal, I call it thrust up. So I'm just going to loosely call it a buy signal, but understand that it's really just thrust to the upside, which is kind of interchangeable. And then now you do have a combination of thrust signals here, right? Not only you had one to start the year, and now you have another one as of this week. So the level here on VIX that you need to be aware of is 20. And then if it gets above 20, I think you could very quickly get to about 24, which is the previous highs. And then, of course, you'd have a target up here right around 27 in the event that it gets above 24. So it's going to seem like I'm just giving you two signals here, but in reality, we've already kind of checked all our work. We looked at bonds. We looked at bonds together last week. So again, I'm going to throw back the video from last week. If you haven't watched it, we did a full breakdown. So really not much has changed. Things have only progressed from that video. And then, of course, you still have the looming kind of 10-3 curve signal that I shared last week as well. So going into next week, everything that I saw was aligned for the bears, more so this week than even last week. Now, here's kind of the catch. You can start, now I want to be really clear here, you can start next week with a big pop. In fact, as someone who's going into the weekend flat, I actually hope that we start with a big pop. I hope we get 2-3 days of a big pop next week, because if we get a big pop, that takes us into resistance levels, and then we can get a sell signal against better entries. That's a better trade than trying to short down here, right? Right now, the indexes are at the weekly 21. It's not usually a great place to enter short because your risk is rather large compared to your potential reward. So you can get large bounces from bearish situations. The key is not whether you get a large bounce. The key is whether that large bounce pulls back to support after the bounce, holds a higher level of support, and then makes a higher swing high. If we see that next week, then I'll come back on Friday next week and change my tune. But at least for now, I am very much aligned that the market is bearish in the near term, that it can stay bearish potentially all the way until March, maybe the end of March. And even if we get a large pop, that does not change anything, but it does open up the potential for a better entry for anyone who's looking to get short. So we'll see how things develop next week. But from everything that I look at, from the indexes to the credit markets to Forex and volatility, which is on your screen right now, all of it is aligned to the bear side. So trade accordingly. All right, guys, that's my time. Again, go back and check last week's video out. A little bit longer video there, more detailed, more articulate. But this video was really just meant to be a kind of a follow-up to last week's video. So these two things tie together. So hopefully these two things help you stay on the right side going into next week. Again, stay nimble because you can get large bounces that wouldn't necessarily change the overall structure or the momentum profile. And if you do get a large bounce, I will be looking to short into that until I am proven wrong by a pullback into a higher low and then an extension into a higher high. All right, guys, that's my time. Catch you next Friday. Cheers. Hey, traders. This is Sam with Simpler Trading. I want to thank you for watching today's video. Hopefully you found the information in it helpful. If you did, leave us a like, leave us a comment. It really does help us out with the algorithm. And if you want to see us trade live with our own real money and be part of the community, come and check us out at simplertrading.com.